people. They don't change.
I've changed.
You okay, ma'am? I'm fine.
Мы не расскажем ему ничего, поскольку ты расскажешь нам все сама.
You gave them your guns? Does this mean we're not in a war zone here?
Good luck, babe.
Nick, Jake,
Actually, I'm Nick. He's Jake.
whatever. Plus one?
Eugenia, thank you so much for having us here in your beautiful home. As you can see, the gorgeous view behind us. And, you know, I wanted to talk to you about this career of yours. And you've done it all. You've been an inspiration to women and young girls. You've expressed that. A lot of these young girls are coming to you now and looking for encouragement in this world today. I think your story is amazing. I think where you started and where you've come to is such an interesting and inspiring story. And I hope today that you know, we'll get to share all of that with you. And so I'd like to start with your childhood. You grew up in Russia. You grew up with the food lines. You had an interesting life. Your father was a world-renowned nuclear physicist. Your mother was also a scientist and a mother. You know, you were training at 6 years old to be an ice skater, a professional figure skater. So let's start there. You know, tell me what life was like in that time.
Stacia, thank you so much for having me on your amazing show. I think it's really inspirational. And I love your mission. You know, it's all about inspiring and kind of spreading awareness. And you're right, like that's what motivates me every day. I did grow up in post-Soviet Russia in the end of, you know, 90s. There was like perestroika when everything was changing and the world was completely, you know, transforming in that sense. We grew up in food lines, even though my dad was a very well-known nuclear scientist. They weren't really well paid because of the communism. And, you know, sometimes we grew up having almost nothing. I remember we had like a bag of oatmeals and then sugar. But what I took from it is I learned a lot of creativity as a child. And I learned also that you don't need much to have everything. Like your family is important, and we would make little dolls out of nothing, you know. So even now I try to teach my kids that like material things, they are just a distraction, you know, from what you can do. And sometimes it's more interesting to grow up and like it's more helpful to, you know, to have nothing.
Yeah.
So definitely took from that. And then becoming an ice skater at 6 years old in Russia in post-Soviet times, you can't just practice sport as a hobby like my kids do now in California. You know, I can see they really enjoy it and do it from time to time. In Russia, I actually had to audition to become a professional ice skater because if you do sports, you have to take it seriously and they have to see if you're able to go to Olympics for the country. And what it entails, you have to train literally every day, no matter what is the weather. And as you know, in Russia, the weather is very, very cold, especially in winter. So I remember sometimes coming home from training and literally pouring hot water on my legs because they were frozen and it was even dangerous. And sometimes, you know, if you don't stretch enough, our trainers would literally sit on your legs to stretch you. But what it taught me, you know, it taught me the will to overcome all the obstacles no matter what. And also it taught me how to be professional, you know, how to be on time, dedicated and really focused. So I would say my childhood, despite everything that happened, it's a really positive childhood. And I try to, as much as I can, to educate my kids about it and just growing in different diverse, environments than Los Angeles, for example.
Your spirit, you keep it in the light, right? Because sometimes, you go through things and you have a tendency to maybe stay, in that place and instead of bringing it out and making a positive out of it, right? And you've done that, and I think that's beautiful, and encouraging your own child, right? I think that's beautiful. Children,
yes,
sorry,
I try.
your children. It's so important, and you're also doing that for others. What was it like? So you were a teenager, right? And all of a sudden now you are modeling, and you're doing television commercials for Coca-Cola and L'Oreal, right? And many others, which, if you care to share with us. But during that time, you were actually making more money than your scientist father. So, what was that dynamic like in the family? How was that part?
Well, it's interesting because in Russia at post-Soviet times, we only had maybe 4 channels, Soviet propaganda, I would say. And there was no such thing as a career in entertainment, literally. And then all these brands, they started coming to, to Russia, like L'Oreal and Coca-Cola and M&M's, and they needed local, faces to advertise their products. And it just started booming. I was found on the street a few times, people approached me, but my family was, very conservative in that sense, and they didn't want me to be sold to dance on the tables. That's what they thought entertainment was. So my biggest motivation, to kind of pursue it was to support my family. And I lost my dad when I was 15, and then I knew that I had to become like a, supporter of my family. I have a sister, and my mom was not working for a long time because she had to wait in food lines. So, when I moved to Paris at 15 and decided to kind of finish my school, after doing all the shoots, definitely the biggest motivation was I have to be a provider. And it was a shop culture, because we haven't traveled. We didn't have a chance to see how the world actually outside of Russia works. I didn't have education about money. Communism is a completely different system. So when I moved to Paris and I had to sign a contract, I had to pay my rent, I had a debt with the agency, it was a completely new thing. And what is interesting in modeling, a lot of times you get diverted, you can see the glamour of things and all these clothes they put on you, and girls go partying, and you're introduced to champagne at 15 and things like that. So you really kind of have to focus on the business side. What happened to me is I thought that the thinner you get, the more jobs I would get, in the beginning, and I developed anorexia. So thank God, my first agent, Natalie Cross-Cotton, who is one of the biggest agents in Paris now, and she is definitely like a mother figure. And she kind of took me aside and said, no, it doesn't matter. All this is, it's not worth your health. So she sent me back. I had to go to doctors and kind of ground myself and find my values in my family and, other things than just pursuing and going, after work, and achieve. And when I came back, I think it just gave me a different perspective. I love working with incredible artists like Yves Saint Laurent. I actually met him, and he kind of introduced me to this career, and Albert Elbaz and Alexander McQueen, just being around those geniuses, It was really inspiring, and I really felt like it was my school. I learned so much from really famous makeup artists, like how to apply, makeup, and it was the best street education. And besides just being able to travel and go to different cultures, you really see that, we're all human, at some level. I think it taught me to be really open-minded. So I'm grateful for, for kind of that education.
It's wonderful. You definitely put the work in. You are very intelligent.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.
Thanks to my dad.
So beautiful. I was going to say, I think it's in the genes, right? Hello. Very good. Well, yeah, you really are an inspiration. You know, moving forward now, where we're headed, you know, with your career, you know, you're doing many more incredible things. You know, you're really like skyrocketing at this point, I believe. I'd like to talk about the gun range. Okay, so I see you out there and you're like this, what, MI6 agent, you know, or something, I don't know, but you were just like going to town, and I was like, wow, it was wonderful. You did such an amazing job with that. So tell me about that. So what's going on with that?
Well, it's not something that I do every day, just to tell you. It was for a film, so I'm kind of against violence in general, but specifically I think if you play a role of a spy, which I'm playing in a new Guy Ritchie film that's coming out, I think next year probably. And my dog is part of this interview, just to let you know, guys.
Well, we're animal lovers here, right? Yes. Okay, so, you know, we might have to introduce him.
Yeah, if you hear him. So, you know, I got this film, and a lot of times I think actors don't do these details of like, okay, if I play a spy, I have to know how to handle a gun, right? And there's this person, Taryn Tactical. Taryn is he's, I think, the best in the world trainer, and not everybody goes there. It's actually specifically for actors, and it's intense, you know? So he works on things like Matrix, you know, with Keanu, and you guys can Google him on YouTube. He works with Halle Berry, you know, Angelina Jolie, like you literally can run into anybody there, but because he's so good, people really, you know, try to get to him, to go there. And yeah, so I went, you know, to train for that film, and then another film, it's called Spy City, where I play another Russian spy with Dominic Cooper, and we shot right before pandemic in Prague and Czech Republic, and it was really, really fun because it's all about the 60s. So I think I love doing films just because you get to learn and research, you know, the history and specifics, the psychology, like it's so interesting. That's, I think, what motivates me to do all these projects.
It's wonderful. It's such a creative thing, right? I mean, you know,
very creative.
It's very creative, that whole process, you know, being the actor, you know, pulling from emotions from the past, you know, and things like that, and diving into new types of roles that maybe you never saw yourself in. You know, you're really, it's a creative world to be able to do that and set your mind in that space. That's wonderful. You just looked amazing with that gun. I don't know. I'm thinking I need to just go try that now. I mean, you know, not to be, not to do what you do, but you know, you just made it look, I don't know. You made it look easy. I'm sure it's not, but yeah.
Well, you know, I think life is a lesson and it's a journey. So I think it's important, if you commit to something, you have to be like 100% and even more.
Yes.
And it's a very challenging work, you know, not only to say I was discouraged. Like when I started acting, I started after having my kids. So as you know, like Hollywood is opening up a little bit now. There's a little bit more diversity. But I felt like when I started, everybody was just saying, oh my God, like, are you like, for real, like you're not a child, you know, people start in this business when they're kids. And besides, you have a 6-month-old child. Like, how are you gonna go for a month to, I don't know, Brazil to shoot something? So a lot of times, you know, people said that, you know, don't even try. And that's, but being that ice skater, you know, at 6, like it brought me like, no, if I want to do something, I will do it. And then it's interesting as well, you know, because the roles that you're given, they're very kind of like in the box, you know, Russian spy, Russian gold digger. And, you know, I really, really am interested to open up, you know, other roles. That's why I produce as well, because I believe there's so many stories that need to be heard, and it is important, you know, to kind of build a road for people to come.
Yes.
So I try to support other, you know, Russian actors. And
it's wonderful. It's you know, you have all these balls in the air, right? So you're a mother, wife, actress. You know, you're doing so many things. Modeling. Now you're producing. You're helping with mental health awareness. It's something that, you know, is important to you. You're, which today in this world now, right, is just extremely important. It always has been, but it's really just something so many, people have been dealing with through COVID. Yeah, it's wonderful. You're a go-getter. You're a fighter. You're very talented and absolutely beautiful.
Oh, you're so
inside
sweet.
and outside.
Thank you.
So, so new projects, things moving forward. What, is there anything specific that you would like to talk about?
Oh, there's so many. I think we're all just so excited to be creative back, right? When
Yes,
things
yes.
are open up. But there's one specific project, and I can talk about it right now because I literally just wrapped it. It's a show on Fox. It's called I Can See Your Voice. And it's incredible how this project came to me because, last year, I set when we had time, I meditated and set an intention. I have to really find my voice, And then I was hired on the show called I Can See Your Voice.
Yeah, well.
And it's fantastically amazing show. I had to train how to be a rock star literally in 2 months, auditioned 5 times. Got it, and it was really exciting to be on stage with Cheryl Hines and King John, who's hosting it. He's incredible. Leanne Rimes was singing, so I just can't wait for you guys to see in October. I think it's coming out 2021. I also wrapped a film with Guy Ritchie. It's called 5 Eyes. They might change the name. I don't know. That's how it works. They name it, and it can change later. With Jason Statham, Aubrey Plaza, and Carrie Elvis, who's just a dear, amazing human being, and it was fantastic to be with them in Antalya. And I don't play a Russian spy, but I can say more probably.
Okay.
It's kind of like a spy, but she's not Russian, so.
That's amazing. Like I said, it's really exploding for you right now.
Yeah, and we're doing a stand-up tour, so I'm really excited actually about that.
I know. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the comedian in you, right? So tell me a little bit about this part of you.
Yeah, so I always wanted to be a rock star until I heard my voice. But I do have a voice, just have to work on that. So I love live audiences. There's something about just being in front of, the audience and connecting to them. And there's no editing, it's live, it is what it is. How I came to that is because I was struggling kind of to find my voice, even when I started doing films, with like a limiting amount of roles. And I was doing a film with Woody Allen and John Turturro in New York called Fading Gigolo. There was Sharon Stone, there were so many amazing artists too, just so lucky to be part of that, Sofia Vergara. And we were shooting at Carlisle, this really incredibly interesting hotel with so much history. And I found out that Woody was doing stand-up before, and playing jazz. And I was like, okay, this is a perfect medium, why not? Just nobody told me I was funny ever. So just, kind of having the arrogance or whatever it is to call up a coach and say like, oh, I can just stand up, let me just try. I called my friend Jerry Corley, who is an incredible coach, stand-up comedian and writer who worked with Jay Leno before and helps, different speakers like how to find their voice. And I learned all about comedy, the structure. It's almost like writing music. And then you really have to kind of add your specifics, And I think my first show was at Flappers and then the Comedy Store, like those big
Right,
stages.
yeah, the big platforms. Like,
Huge
wow.
platforms, yeah. If you know the Comedy Store, there's a great documentary on Showtime about everybody who performed there. And it was interesting. The second time I bombed, the first time you just don't know what you're doing. You're really excited and you get through that like a deer in the lights. And then the second time, I remember I was doing an industry show and just all that, like expectations of delivering and making somebody laugh. I learned so much about it because I bombed, and just to go back on stage after that experience, it takes a lot of courage. But I think any comedian you ask, like, we go through ups and downs, and you learn the most when you actually fail, right?
Well, that's how we grow.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
That's how we grow.
Exactly.
It's in anything you do in life, right?
Yeah.
You have to go through the certain bumps. You have to, you're getting your education in
Yes.
it. No one just walks in the door and goes, voila, you know, I'm perfect. No, it takes time and effort and a lot of work, a lot of hard work.
Absolutely.
And you have that work ethic and in you instilled as a child, you know, like you said, from those days, you know, that ice skating, you know, that, I mean, really, you're so young and you took so much and you supported that family of yours and you know, it was just in you. So you already had that spark. You already had a special gift. And now it's just blossomed and flourished into something so beautiful, you know.
Thank you.
And again, encouraging others and inspiring others to look at your story and say, wow, okay, you know, I can walk this. I can get up every day and I can go and I can try and I can find that courage to step on that stage again, whatever that is, right? Whatever your thing is that you're passionate for in life. And I love that.
Thank you.
I love that you've become this voice for others as well as, you know, finding your own, right?
Yes.
You know, and really making something incredible happen with it.
Thank you. You know, I feel like my family is the most important thing, no matter what you do in life. You know, you can be successful and then go up and down. You know, the creative journey, it never ends. It's about the journey.
Yes.
But the most important thing is definitely my kids, my husband, you know, my close friends. And I actually created a blog called Model Mom TV. You know, would love to have you sometime because I know
Yes.
you're a mom as well, you know.
I would love it.
Yeah, so how I started that is, you know, after coming back, I had kids pretty early and in modeling, you know, kind of a time when my agent pulled me aside and she's like, you're in the middle of your career. You know, now modeling is very diverse and I feel like there are models in their 80s and, you know, they're all kind of shapes and I love that about the industry. But at the time I felt like 21, you're already over the hill, you know, so there's that as well, pressure.
Yes.
But I decided to have my kids just because, you know, my doctor said like it's probably really hard for me to do that, and I really wanted to do that, you know. And I started this blog because I felt really fish out of water, you know, as a working mom and in a profession where you expected to always look good, you know, take care of yourself, and also be in all kind of places. I really struggled because my other model friends would be out, you know, on social dinners, things like that. But I had to go back to, you know, my like 3-month-old baby after all the shoots. So I started a conversation. I think every mother is a model, not only fashion, but just because kids learn by, you know, your example.
Yes.
And that's why I love interviewing other, you know, moms and asking them like about their passion and how they do it all, you know. And we can't do it all. There's
Yes.
no like, there's so much pressure, but we all find our ways, right? How
Find
to
that balance, you know, you
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah, it's very personal, and I'm just really excited to have really fantastic guests. So yeah, I would love to have you sometime.
I would love it. I love that you created that. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I mean, you're just, you know, doing so many inspirational things in this world. And I personally say thank you. You
Thank
know,
you.
really, honestly, Eugenia, you're just, like I said, just what a wonderful spirit you are, and the world is lucky to have her, right?
Thank
okay?
you.
So this has been wonderful. Thank you so much again, and your lovely home, your beautiful family, and look at this. I mean, this is
know.
incredible, right?
It's amazing to meditate on that, you know,
Yes.
because I have those 2 tattoos. One is where you came from, so it's from Siberia, and that's where you're going. So, you know, you come from somewhere, and the journey is like to love. So, like, look back, and I think, you know, I'm just really grateful.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I need those. I need to get some of those. Wow. All right. Well, again, thank you so much, Eugenia, and we will be talking to you more.